everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Audacity Show. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Jeanette Anderson, and today I'm here with the lovely, talented, amazing, super smart, and really lovely-hearted Valerie Sorrentino. So welcome. I'm glad you're here, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jeanette. It's great to be here.
And so I'm going to tell you, as usual, the official side of Valerie, and then we're going to get the juicy, deep, dark secrets, or the, juicy bits, whatever that may be. So I'm just reading over here, y'all. So I'm not ignoring you. Valerie Sorrentino, life energy mastery coach, specializes in making self-care sacred and accessible for high achievers, high performers, and the highly sensitive, who know that there's more than what meets the eye. In over 20 years of teaching gentle yoga, meditation, healing, and space clearing, Valerie uses mind and body and home energy alignments as a vehicle of transformation for more health, wealth, and joyful living. Lovely. I like that. So that's awesome. And you do have a very gentle kind of approach to life. So gentle yoga, gentle everything that you do is quite calming. I like it's one of my favorite things about you. So tell us something that we wouldn't guess about you, Valerie, from your website or your bio. What's something that people got to be surprised by?
Well, in a nutshell, one thing that would be surprising is that I went to over 12 schools in less than 12 years of schooling. Wow. So that's a surprise that you wouldn't know. I was in a top 40 cover band in the 80s and on the Las Vegas Strip. So that's one.
That's another so cool. One. Cool. What was the cover band? What band were you covering?
It was called, it was a Heroes band, and we covered top 40 hits.
Oh, top 40 hits. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. I didn't know that. And you were a singer?
I was a backup keyboard player.
Oh, cool. Okay. There you go. See, I did not know that. That's very cool. All right. So let's talk a little bit about why is sacred self-care so important to you? But tell us what your why is, because I'm all about the why. Why do you do what you do? Why has this been something that has been so important for you throughout your life in its various forms?
Well, that leads us to another thing that you might not know about me or might not assume is that, for a very long time, because of hard environmental influences changed growing up, maybe I wasn't so calm, maybe I wasn't so pleasant, maybe I wasn't so warm and relaxed. I think I was quite the opposite as a defense mechanism. And I just thought that's how I needed to be, and fight my way through and sort of defend every moment of time. So why is that I think that we are all empowered with our choice of and infinite possibilities. And so to make changes, it really does turn us around to ourselves and caring for ourselves in a really deep and rich way. And for most of us, myself included, I thought that it was on the side. Like, hopefully I can squeeze it in. It's on my list, but I'm not on my list. So to make it really find ways that it becomes sacred in every moment, in every way, that's how self-care becomes more a way of being rather than a thing to do.
So what started that transformational journey for you? Because I hear you about the early, I moved a lot as well and kind of grew up challenged. We'll put challenged as the mild, and that did lead to being angry and not very calm. And for me, very had to kind of be in control of everything and hypervigilant and so forth. Growing up with a mom with mental health issues and so on, and so my transformation was, in many regards, gradual over time. I took a personal development course when I was 21 that was very pivotal for me. Was there something that really kicked off your transformation?
It's funny. It's so much more simple than when we can finally pinpoint it, right? I did not go into hyper control of my environment or my life. I went into the opposite, where I just sort of fell into more of a depression and more of a bleakness or a giving up, lacking of strength. I had drive. I had a deep connection to my intuition, or what would be called back then being psychic. Now it's transitioned into intuitive. So I worked for the family. I got married young. I had children. We had a business. We were restaurateurs, and I just was working through it, and just, again, putting myself on the side. But one day I said to my partner, because we were moving to relocate to create another location, another business. We were going to open a second location. And I heard myself say, "Don't worry," because she was very stressed. "Don't worry, we're going to be fine. We create our own reality." And I was like, isn't that interesting that I would create my own reality? And this is the one I'm living in, which is overwhelm, depression, low energy, extreme pain. I had a lot of pain in my body, a ruptured disc, L5S1. So I really heard that I create my own reality. So that was a turning point for me internally. Externally, it was a few years later, and I had been introduced to a little bit of personal development, but not much. I was taking yoga classes though. So that's a deep dive internally, right? But as an empath, and you're feeling things, processing things, understanding things, hearing the signs, hearing the wisdom, it didn't come in until I gave notice to my business partner / husband one day, written 2 weeks notice, and said, "No, I'm not going to work here anymore." And he said, "What are you going to do? What are you doing? Are you leaving us?" It was like, and I said, no, I'm just giving you notice. I'm teaching yoga. And it was like, that came through my mouth. I didn't plan to teach yoga. It was not even part of my confidence level. And it has been over 20 years of teaching how to be really well in your body. So that turning point, it was sort of a succession of things. But the real turning point that I sit with to say, wow, when did it all change? And I released depression completely. Of course, I was seeing holistic professionals and had support in many ways, cleaning up my diet, cleaning up my thoughts, detoxifying my internal way of being. But it was like, I got really brutally real with myself. And I really went into a massive acceptance. If I'm in a bleak, dark place, that's who I am. I'm not pretending to be anything else. So that was, I think, a turning point in self-care, taking action, finally following what's the anger coming from, where is it? But then really just getting really real and creating from that place of real. So it's accepting where you are, even no matter what, right? Dark, light, up, down, whatever it is. Understanding who you are from that place. And then it's really about looking forward. What would I like? Maybe for the first time in my entire life, it was at the turn of the century. Don't we love being able to say that? At the turn of the century, I sat down and wrote an intentions list. What is my real intention here on this planet? Because one was opt out, right? You know how deep, dark depression the opt out is one of those options. But it was really like, well, if I'm creating my reality, what reality would I like? And it so began.
There's so many things that you just said that are so profound and such significant steps that people sometimes miss. Is the first getting real with what is, because especially if we've done personal growth, there's a real tendency or desire to do a spiritual bypass and go to the positive and reframe and do all of those things without really sitting in what is, and not only acknowledging it but being with it. And so when you said that, it's like, well, I could really feel the being with, being with the what is, being with the bleakness. And then you said that an important step in between that and okay, what's next is the curiosity. What's this about? What's this doing for me? What is this? How is this perhaps serving me? Or what's going on in there? And just heard is kind of a gentle, compassionate curiosity, as opposed to I got to dig and figure it out and fix it. And I got to, but just like, what's this about?
Yeah.
And then the what do I want instead? Because I think so many times we want to jump right to that. And it doesn't stick because it's got no foundation under it of the reality. So beautiful kind of steps there. And so when you got to that point of what do I want instead and starting to set some intentions, how did your framing around self-care change? Because you were so right when you said many of us come at it from a fitted in, another to do to put on the list, not a sacred commitment. So how did that shift for you?
Well, as a young mom and, a highly productive person, right? That's what we have to be. That's what we believed we had to be, right? It was like the belief system. If I'm not working or producing something, then I must not be creating anything of value or worth, right? So that was an old thought process that I recognized. But it was really a process of, and as you said, it's steps, but it is in chaos, right?
Mhm.
Chaos creation is in the chaos. So it's like this first, that, the other, and then it all cycles around and comes back together. But staying the path is really where it is, and becoming more and more gentle with oneself or accepting of oneself. Personally, for me, it was about practicing yoga, right? So the yoga that I was seeking, I could not find. It was back when hot yoga started to come into the picture. It was very strenuous practice, was very looked highly upon, all of that. And for me, the more I pushed in any direction, the more I was back in bed, right? Back in bed, whether it was because of physical pain or emotional trauma, right? So it was like learning to be at ease and gentle with myself. I started teaching yoga so that I could have the class that I was looking for. And really, it was how to lay down, how to get back up, and how to move around without pain. So when my main intention was to be pain-free. And that is still one of my main intentions. So to be pain-free was a learning curve, because how many times are we just going to push through and I can do it? So that hard candy coating and that don't tell me I can't do it kind of a girl that I was back then, quickly started to diminish when I would rest for lengthy periods of time, move in a gentle way, have moments of my nervous system calming, and then learning what words matched that, like how to share from my inner truth, this new truth. It's vulnerable to be in a positive state of being when you are kind of in the streets, street smart, or fighting your way through. It's more like, being nice and being positive. That's a little bit of a vulnerable spot. Once we get good at it or know where it's coming from, it's very true. It becomes our ultimate power, right? Positivity has a great deal of power. So to become sacred, though, gosh, it was, when you're really like, I have to do these dishes again. I have to clean this house again. These people don't appreciate me. All that stuff that goes through your mind, or that could start to be habitual resentment, right? We can have it. Well, one day I had to think about, why am I making this food for these people, this family? Because I want us to be well fed. Okay, so the intention is to have a well-fed family. So that made me feel freer that I had freedom of choice to create some really lovely, healthy meals, right? It wasn't, I have to do this. It was, I want to do this. So changing the dialogue is a transformational superpower. And it's not a bypassing, it's a really finding out where you are in present time. So I personally didn't want to cook every meal. At least I found that, because I was rushed and crammed and cramped in getting here, there, and the other place. So, but I did like to set a nice table. So it's like, okay, I'm going to set the table for me, make it pretty, put some flowers, whatever. And now that I've moved my energy into something that feeds and feels well for me, that was a self-care moment, then I would easily progress into chop, 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 and cook and really happily cook that meal. So it became sacred to care for myself by cooking without all that animosity. Right? Same thing with doing the dishes. Who's going to do the dishes? Chores, you guys have to do it. I cook, all that riff was really like, what is it that I really want? I want a clean, clear environment so I can easily move through this, through the day, through the night, through the next task at hand. Well, that clears the space of all that dense energy, or that they, me, all of that struggle to, easily, let's just do this, because the intention is to have a clear space. It changes the energy. And then I would enroll a couple of helpers a little more easily rather than just tell them how to do it and it has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So I was changing the paradigm from how I was raised into what I felt was more in alignment with who I wanted to be while getting things done. So it became sacred to have a clear sink. It became sacred to have a orderly space. And then it became sacred to say, I'm going to enlist help when I get a housekeeper. Right? Where prior to that, I wouldn't have had that permission to think that I would deserve help. I could afford help. Abundance started to come in through this self-care, and we cleared up a lot. So enlisting help is one of my main tenets.
Okay, that's awesome. And I love the abundance came in as I started to attend to the self-care, because often we think it's the other way around. When I can afford self-care, then I will. And when I have abundance, then I can afford, and so forth. So I love that that was reversed for you. So speaking of that, let's talk about how do you enroll people? Because a lot of times people, and many women especially, want more support, but like you said, we sometimes get to that place of resentment instead. We don't voice our wants and our needs. So from a perspective of self-care, how do we enroll other people?
How do we enroll other people? You mean
in supporting us in our self-care?
Oh, how do we get the gang to play along with us?
Yeah.
It's non-negotiable with or without them. So they can enroll or they cannot enroll. It's none of my business. So one of the ways is to continuously check in with myself, because if I'm so here's the thing that was a very interesting realization for me. Being an empath, I didn't know I was highly sensitive. I knew I was intuitive. I knew I had my ups and downs on a very, very continuous basis. I didn't know it was because of other people's energy. I didn't know that the world at large had such an effect on me. And until I finally decided or cleared or was in a more congruent energetic space with others, like-mindedness, right? That I was like, oh, I feel much better. And once I learned how to clear my energy on a very regular basis, using light frequency energy, clearing the energy of my home on a regular basis, whether it was actual clutter, which happens on a regular, it's nothing good, bad, or otherwise. I'm not a terrible person because I have a stack of mail piling up. It just happens, right? But it could be weighing on me, right? We look around, what's weighing on me? Well, when I learned that I was impacted by other people's energy and I had tools to clear my own energy, once I had that frame of boundaries in place on a regular basis, meaning a practice where I breathe in, breathe out, visualize clear, become clear, intentions are clear, set tools into shape, then it doesn't matter really what other people are doing, saying, being, having, because they're not gonna, we can do whatever we think we're gonna do, but they're not gonna jump on board. I just wanna say that. It's up to me to continue to jump on board for myself to this day. Right. Because here's why. We can become very distracted, right? We're now distracted. Oh, I forgot that I prefer A, B, C, or D. I forgot that this is sacred because of the noise going on around me. Because my energy taps into someone else's energy. And then I don't know why I feel so confused, overwhelmed, in discord. Once I get into my own space, I can then kind of readjust or recalibrate. But it's very important to have three things. One is movement. So we must have movement or we become stagnant. We must have stillness or we become frenetic. And we must have solitude. So each of us requires solitude, but some of us require more than others, right? So I've learned that, for me to really stay in alignment with myself, we are a reflection of each other. So if I'm completely in alignment with myself, then others will enroll. Right? So that's the way, is continue to becoming, so to convince others or to try to share, just being in my whole truth is enough.
Okay. And so the three things that you said, movement, stillness, and solitude are components of what? I missed the first part that you said there.
That it's in order to continue to stay in balance and in alignment with my own truth or myself or my needs, because I could become distracted and then forget my needs. They can become overwhelmed by other people's, and it's invisible because like one day I was driving in the car and I said, gosh, I'm so crotchety for no reason. Like, what is my deal? I'm so moody today. What is it? And then I remembered, I looked at the person sitting next to me in the car and I was like, oh, I didn't set my energy in I'm blurring the lines here. I'm feeling other stuff. And if we don't know that about ourselves, we might just think we're not functioning well, right? We're just we're not whole, we're not this, we're not that. We have all kinds of problems. Once we realize, aha, this is the way I operate, I was like, oh, I'm in his energy. I'm in their energy. So I pulled myself back into my own zone, did some energy clearing, like we know how to do. There's many, many, many modalities. That's what I teach, how to stay in your own energy field, how to make it look sparkly and wonderful inside and out. And that is about having some movement, right? So the movement can be exercise, it can be moving the furniture, it can be moving the breath through the body, moving our bodies so that we feel open and alive, right? Moving our blood, right? So we have movement is very important. Stillness is very important, right? And so finding that moment of the still point within, or stopping the body and resting. Some of us call it sleep. Right? But we can be in yogi sleep, which is very, very aware, yet in a deep, relaxed state of being. Meditation. Within stillness, there's movement. Within movement, there is stillness to be found. So that solitude piece, though, how many times have you found yourself in this great sense of momentum or these ideals or this stuff, but then you find yourself in your own solitude, your own space, whether that's in your car, leaving an event, that's in your house, your room, if it's in the forest, on the beach, wherever you are, you have a whole different sense of what and who and why. So for some of us, it's just a mandatory. I know I need to walk away in order to make any choices. Like, I'll be right back. Can I sleep on it? I just say, I'll be right back. I might just step out the door or whatever, so I can be in touch with my own self. I know about solitude is necessary. We tend to forget that and maybe don't get it on a regular basis at all. Now, overly too much time alone can then get into the chatter and distraction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of what a lot of people suffered from in COVID, was not knowing how to find connection within the solitude.
Right.
So lots of struggles for many people because of that. So sacred self-care, often when people talk about self-care, especially when it comes to women, if I hear one more book or read one more thing that says, take a bath or go shopping, I'm going to scream. And it's like, apparently those are the only two things that are associated with care of themselves. What's your frame around self-care? Because you just mentioned some things that are very profound component of that, the movement, the stillness, the solitude, the checking in with ourselves. But what when you're talking to people about self-care, where do they start? What can they do? You mentioned a routine or a ritual. What are some things that you would advocate that go beyond the make a list and take yourself out to lunch or buy flowers once a week or whatever? What can people think about to really deepen that practice and that grounding?
Well, first I want to give credit to a good old-fashioned hot bath, because it's true. You have your stillness, your movement, because the blood flow of the heat of the water or the essential oil or the whatever you're doing, the candlelight and the whatever. When I had little kids, I would tell them, we're doing spa night. And it was just low lights in the bathroom with some scent. And so it was very effective. That was when I was on my journey. So novice, if that's as well as you can do, then yes.
Yeah.
Create a sanctuary.
Yep.
And take a hot bath. And shopping, try on not looking at price tags. Just don't look at price tags. If you're out in retail therapy, which is very, very effective, then just see what you love. Notice who you are without a cap of how much something costs, or if you should, could, or would, right? So I say, to answer your question though, I say get rid of words like could, should, and would. That is the first thing to do. If I should do something, if I would have done it, couldn't do it, shouldn't have done it, all of that. So eliminate those words as best as possible. Eliminate the words have to, need to. So these are a very important, profound changes in your sense of self. So giving yourself permission to be honest is changing those words to I want to, I can, I will. Right. So these are very important shifts in self-care. So owning what you really think and feel, owning that truth is a part of the self-care. Saying no without any other words around it is really, really important ability to be able to do that. No and no, thank you. Rather than what I don't want, what I'm not going to do, eliminate the word no, unless it's just a clear yes or no. Right. So this is a very caring thing to do. Another very caring thing to do, you said besides lists, high proponent of gratitude list, the daily gratitude list, writing it down. It becomes a profound body of energy once done consecutively and deep, more and more deeply, more and more authentically. We all have cycles and go through waves. So it could get surfacey, it could get thin, and then it can deep dive back in. So a morning routine or a routine with oneself, it's a sense of solitude. Another is making the bed, self-care 101. Right. So we can tell when we're starting to maybe ignore ourselves or get a little ahead of ourselves when we're not doing the mundane, regular personal care, which is, first of all, just making the bed. That's one thing. But for a depressed person, oh my gosh, I'm just got sluggish energy. I might just crawl right back into that bed. Well, is it a decision? Is it a habit? Is it a denial? What's the energy there? A beautifully made bed that you are actually pleased with, that might have a little something. You don't need 9 pillows, but you could have maybe one little something. Maybe even there's something beautiful on your bedside table. Maybe it's a crystal, maybe it's a book, maybe it's that journal. Maybe it's clear. I don't know what it is, what it's for you specifically, but having that space really pristine so that you can be received and rest well, that's part of self-care. Now, let's say that you do want to get back in bed because you want to take a nap. Great. You have empowered choice, undo the covers, get into that lovely bed, right? It's not a, oh, well, ignore it because I'm ignoring myself situation. That's a very simple example, but I believe it's a profound one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell and really appreciate the, not just the intentionality, but there's a word that I want that you put around those things, that it's not just make the bed, it's make the bed because it makes it yummy, because it makes it pristine for you, because it nurtures you, right? And so it's not just, again, it's not a self-care to do, it's a self-care.
It's a way of being. I think the word you're thinking of is sacred.
Yeah. Yes.
It becomes a sacred space. And so under the bed is very impacting. There was a time where sleeplessness has been something I've worked through my entire life, and it's getting better and better. Sleep routine, being gentle with oneself at night, especially, very important. And there was this point in time where I really was going to break through and make a difference in the world. And I was going to do so much more and have so much more, right? And have more clients and more income. Right. And so I was really had that intention was clear, because some coaches are very, very much more, goal, 10 times it, 100 times it. But for a gentle, sensitive soul like myself, I don't really need to do that. Mine, I'm very much more pragmatic, maybe just make it more honest and say realistic, but more tangible, right? So, but I was in the space of really expanding in that way. I was being guided that way. And in the night, I woke up and I was really just ruminating a little bit. And I was like, oh, this closet is, I just have to empty the closet. It's so packed with stuff. I can't get another thing. I have too much stuff. So can you relate to having the clutters? But also alongside that is the expansion. So isn't it ironic that I'm asking for more all day long, and in the night, I'm overwhelmed by all that I have? So it was an aha moment, which happens in the night, which was, aha, tend to what is no longer serving me and let it go in real time, right next to me, near my bed, in that closet. Let go of the old identity that it no longer is, and have space for what I'm asking for, what I'm intending, right? So it is a really important balance of the yin and the yang, the empty and the full, the giving and receiving. So that push for more, but in my inner dialogue, it was, I have too much. Right? So listening to what's actually ruminating when we're not charging forward in our daily conscious awareness, really looking around our space. So I find it interesting that my space is my sacred compass. It's like, if this is functioning for me, it means I'm in alignment internally and externally. Right. And it's never going to, it's like working out, or it's like having that great meal. We're never done. We're satisfied for that moment, and then we're going to have to cycle through and keep it going, right? Keep it going. So I had the major aha, cleared out some stuff, because to-do list, go clean out your closet, maybe not going to do it. Sacred care for the soul expansion of all that I am, I'm going to get rid of a few pairs of shoes.
Yes. And you've mentioned it a few times that the why, shifting the why of it, is so fundamental to how we see it, how we experience it, and how we be in that response. So that's a very it's a great place to start, is what's the motivation, what's the desire and the intention, and what's the motivation, and what's perhaps a more productive motivation. And yes, when I sold my house and everything I owned and condensed down to it was 10 by 10 storage unit then, it's a 5 by 10 now, and it's still too much, Valerie. I still have that sense of too muchness, and so this summer I'll be clearing it out some more, because I love your line about I was asking for more, but was I overwhelmed by the too much that I had?
Right.
It's so true, and often is the case.
And it's also about reframing, what is it that I intend with these possessions? Does it match my overall intentions? To travel light and be free to go traipse around the world is an alignment of how much I own and how much I'm managing. So you're absolutely right about that. Because I love stuff. Exactly. When I learned, so I've studied feng shui for many, many years. I just couldn't help it. The theory just rang true for me. However, I didn't feel completely in my truth until I learned about Hygge. And Hygge is the art of living cozy for your well-being. So it's like, aha. So it's a balance of all this stuff, not overwhelmed by it. But yes, it's not about stark minimalism either. So finding your own zone, finding our own truth.
Is that pronounced Huga?
It's Hygge, and it's pronounced Hygge.
Gge. Okay, Gge. Okay, so I could talk to you all day long, but we do need to wrap up. So how do people find out more about you, and how do they find you if they want to work with you or connect with you?
Great question. Thank you for asking. Well, I work at boutique healing services, mind, body, and home energy alignment. So I have a handful of clients. One-on-one clients, I've got a handful. I do have room for 3 more clients in my current to future roster. As far as offering community and group energy clearing, I have this lovely community called Sacred Self-Care Community. And it's the sweetest thing. I'm telling you, it just makes my heart expand. We just did a session on Thursday evening, and it was heart chakra and hand chakra alignment. Really amazing as far as opening the ability of giving and receiving, right? So we do a lot of this energy clearing, self-care in the esoteric, but in the tangible as well, in the pragmatic. So to join that group, I do have a special of a link that has 2 weeks off for the membership. It's a subscription membership, and it's already so affordable and so inviting. It's this intimate group. We meet a few times a month, and you're welcome to the link. I will send it to you here today to offer to your to anybody listening today. And but more specifically, reach me at omvalerie@gmail.com. omvalerie@gmail.com. Reach me specifically, and I would be happy to offer a 15-minute complimentary consultation to clear stagnant energy or to become clear about where you're headed.
Love that. Okay, I put it in the chat in terms of the email address, and we'll put the link for your community. And tell us the name of the community again, or the
Sacred Self-Care Community.
Sacred Self-Care Community. Awesome. And I do recommend that you connect with Valerie to have a 15-minute conversation that can support you in just getting clearer on where are you at with your self-care and what might be possible for you. Because a lot of times we may not even be able to see what we can't see, in terms of we're so much in the overwhelm, so much in the have tos and shoulds and so forth, that having a pause and perhaps a reset could be really beneficial towards stepping towards permission to do things differently. So please do take her up on that offer, because she's awesome to talk to. So thank you so much, Valerie, for being here. Thank you for your time and your wisdom. What's one last thing you'd like to leave everybody with?
Keep it simple. Simplify, 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 continue simplifying. Some of the simplest things we can do are return to the basics, master the basics. Drink water, fresh air, fresh food, fresh thoughts, and create a fresh environment.
I love that. I have so many different quotes from you over here. I don't usually have this many from many of our speakers, but so many great things. So thank you so much for being here. And ladies and gents, if you're watching as well, please don't let this be another call to you and to your soul to take care of yourself, that you go, yep, I'll get to that right after I finish these 12 other things. Let this be something that reaches your heart and makes a difference to how you love yourself.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here, Valerie. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and a bodacious week. And I will see you all soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.